I'm Shravan Lakan and you're listening to 7 Steps to Smile. I want to live in a world where people are showing up for themselves as often as they can, as much as possible. And in doing that, that means showing up and being kind to the people around them, the people that care about them, but even the people that they don't really know. Kind, not in the sense of being soft, but kind in the sense of being compassionate. And those are two different things. To put that in perspective, think about the last time somebody disappointed you. They cut you off in traffic, somebody you know ghosted you, maybe somebody said something careless or didn't show up. Or just think about how much energy you've lost replaying an argument or holding a grudge, feeling tense around somebody you just don't understand. What do you do next? What happens next? What happens to your body, your mind? How do you feel? Does your body tighten up? Does your mind begin to judge emotionally? Do you start withdrawing? Or do you try to understand? This episode isn't about being nice. It's not. It's about reducing the friction in the relationships in your life and in extension, reducing the friction in your day-to-day life because we are relational people. Before I get into everything else, I want to be clear about what we're talking about. Compassion is not about letting people off the hook. It is about freeing up mental and emotional energy that you're wasting right now. I know that we all want to be compassionate people. Sometimes we feel like we're in a world that demands a hardness, that demands a callousness because there's nobody that cares. And that hopelessness is the enemy of compassion. That hopelessness is the enemy of justice in times of injustice. And we are experiencing times of injustice, times when the people with power are hurting the people without power. And I can't say that I understand that completely. I'm very fortunate enough to be in a position of privilege, but I want to understand it, and I want to be an instrument that drives compassion and justice. And in saying that, I feel like a lot of other people want to be that person as well. They want to be part of a group that demands we do better. Compassion often feels like something that we should have, but don't want to offer. Especially when somebody's behavior has consequences for us or somebody that we care about. We tend to harden and get more callous towards these people. When I talk about compassion today, I don't mean excusing harm. I mean making an honest attempt to understand the context behind someone's actions without losing your standards. Today, we're going to speak about what compassion actually is and what it isn't, why it benefits you and not just others, and where compassion ends and responsibility begins. In unpacking all of this, I'll also explain how we can practice compassion without betraying ourselves. So let's start with what is compassion really? I want to define compassion today as a willingness. Compassion is a willingness to get proximate, to get close to context. Compassion is not kindness, is not forgiveness, is not letting things slide. It's a willingness to get close, to get proximate to context, to separate a person from their behavior without denying the impact of that behavior. That means that we become willing to get close to the meaning behind why people do the things that they do, without denying the impact of their actions. And that's very important. That's a very important clarification because compassion is not justification, even though a lot of us feel that way. It's not playing devil's advocate. Understanding why somebody acted the way they did is not the same as saying it was okay. The two things can be true at once. We can have a both and. Somebody can be hurting and their behavior can still be harmful. This is an important clarification because it is the starting point of us being empathetic towards these people. And that empathy is also important. In South Africa, I have come to understand a universal concept, but specifically in South Africa, it is very prevalent, the idea of Ubuntu, of I am because we are. Our nervous systems, our behaviors, and our beliefs are shaped relationally. Who we are is shaped by the people that we surround ourselves with, but also by the people that they surround themselves with, that we might not come into contact with. Seeing people in context doesn't dissolve accountability. It clarifies it. When you see the meaning behind why people do the things they do, and you become willing to get close to that meaning, it doesn't take away from the accountability of their actions. It doesn't make what they did okay. It increases your accountability to understanding yourself, because those people, those actions, their beliefs affect you and they shape you. If your compassion, however, costs you your self-respect, then it's not compassion anymore. When it costs you your self-respect, then that becomes self-betrayal. When you start letting people off the hook and avoiding conflict and reframing that as compassion, that's just betraying yourself. That's when you stop demanding respect and stop demanding accountability, and that's a problem. So I want to be clear on the definition of what compassion is. Compassion is a willingness to get proximate, to get close to the context or the meaning behind why people do the things that they do without ignoring the effect of those actions. Now that we've spoken about what it is and why it's important in a societal sense, I want to speak more about why it's important for you in particular. This is all scientifically based. It's grounded in research. You being compassionate is associated with lower stress levels, lower inflammation. Your mind, your body is immediately improved. It's immediately better. Improved emotional regulation, better social trust and cooperation, which is so important, and reduced burnout and resentment. Compassion shifts us from defend and attack to understand and respond. The tangible benefits that people notice, and this is all coming from research, is better sleep, less emotional exhaustion, fewer lingering conversations in your head, that rumination that makes it hard to sleep sometimes, improved patience under pressure. And the important point to note here is that compassion will shift you from the threat mode of the activation of your amygdala, if you remember from other episodes, when it shifts you to an anxiety threat detection mode. It shifts you from that threat mode to a problem-solving mode. So when you start understanding the reasons behind why people do the things that they do, your actions aren't based in fear anymore. They're not based in, oh no, I'm under attack. They're based in, there's a problem here, and I can be part of the solution. Judgment that comes with not being compassionate feels sharp, but compassion feels spacious. And that's the space where you can start making better decisions. We all want to have better relationships. The relationships that we currently have, we want to improve on them. The relationships that we don't have with certain people, we want to build. And people are more open when they feel understood. It's a lot easier to start connecting and start getting closer and building these relationships with people when they feel like you understand them. Conflicts with these people resolve faster when they're not defensive anymore, when they feel like they're being understood. And this is where we can start applying Ubuntu and applying compassion practically and start improving our relationships without putting in all that much effort. You need to understand something. Your behavior affects the people around you. But more than that, their behavior affects you. Understanding this loop helps you influence the outcomes instead of escalating them. I am because we are. When people feel seen, they're more willing to take responsibility. And we reduce shame because we're not judging people. When people feel shameful, they want to defend themselves. They want to defend their actions, try to justify it, and that delays change. But understanding accelerates change because now we're working together to solve a problem, not working against each other to attack characters. People don't change when they feel cornered. People change when they can and when they want to. Showing them compassion helps them feel understood and accountable, and makes it more likely for change to happen. And I think it's quite easy to see how being more compassionate can save you in relationships. The benefits become very, very real. Compassion saves you from carrying resentment longer than necessary. I don't think it's necessary at all, but it does happen. And being compassionate helps you see other people's perspectives and stops you from othering them and stops you from turning them into the target of a moral attack. Compassion saves you from turning all the conflicts into character judgments. It stops you from burning bridges that you later might need or might want. And it saves you from being stuck in anger because it feels justified, because you feel like you're right. Compassion is not staying silent. It's not tolerating disrespect, and it is not emotional self-sacrifice. The cost of that fake compassion is avoiding the difficult conversations that you need to have to improve positions in your relationships. The cost of fake compassion is calling fear kindness and starting to get more comfortable with your fear. The cost of fake compassion is letting your boundaries erode. If your compassion avoids discomfort now, but creates resentment later, it's not working. So then how can we use compassion as a skill? A skill, something that needs to be practiced, something that needs to be learned. Very practical, very usable in 5 steps that I've compiled for you today. Step 1 is to shorten conflicts. Ask yourself, what's this really about for the other person? What is this really about for them? This helps you address the root, not just the words or the surface behavior, but the context and the meaning behind those words and actions. Step 2 is to respond once, not repeatedly. Compassion lets you deal with an issue once instead of revisiting it mentally for weeks. Step 3 is to set clearer boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're bridges to get what you want. And understanding somebody's context helps you build those bridges and set those boundaries without guilt or over-explaining. Step 4 is a cliche in these times, but protect your energy. Compassion reduces an emotional load on you. It's less time replaying fights and arguments and things that you should have said or things that they said to you or whatever it is, and it's more time living. Protect your energy. Step 4. Step 5 is choose repair over revenge. Repair ends cycles. Revenge extends them, creates new ones. Compassion is how you stop paying interest on old emotional debts. Compassion makes life more peaceful, less internal noise, fewer emotional hangovers. And it's not about being better, it's about being freer. Compassion doesn't mean that you accept everything. It means you don't let other people's behavior live rent-free in your head. This week, notice where judgment shows up automatically, and see if curiosity serves you better in that place. Together we can create a much better world for everybody living in it if we just show compassion to the person sitting next to us. Today, do one small thing to show up for yourself, and I'll see you next week.